All right, it's 7 o'clock. We will call our, that one was loud tonight, sorry. We will call our Tuesday, March 1st, 2022 council meeting to order. We'll start with roll call.
Councilman Becker. Oh, you're muted. Mason, you're muted still.
Yeah, sorry, I lost the window there.
There
Yeah.
you go. Okay. Councilman Hartwick. Here. Councilman Housley. Here. Councilman Johnson.
Here.
President Scheer.
Here. Agenda item 3 is public hearings. This evening we have none. Agenda item 4 is public comment. Just as a reminder, the city council will receive comments from city residents. Comments are generally limited to 3 minutes per individual. Anyone wishing to speak is required to sign up in advance or state the following items for the record when called upon. That would be your name, address, subject matter, and contact information. No action will be taken on any public comments unless the item is also elsewhere in the agenda. We have 2 people signed up. One is later in the meeting, so I will hold that. And then Mark, I'm just confirming, do you have any public comment or just waiting for the award later in the meeting? Yes. Just waiting. All right. I'm gonna return that to you. This will be a first call for public comment, both in person and via Zoom. This is a second call for public comment. This is a third and final call for public comment. Seeing none, we will move right along. Agenda item number 5 is our consent agenda. The consent agenda that is outlined is presented for action by the city council. Items may be removed from the consent agenda on the request of any one council member. Items not removed may be adopted by one action without debate. Removed items may be taken up either immediately after the consent agenda or placed later on the agenda at the discretion of the council president.
I move to approve the consent agenda as listed, items 5A through 5J.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Brandon, can you turn your mic on for us? Thank you. Agenda item 6 is petitions, requests, and communications. 6A is the recognition of the retirement of public safety dispatcher Sue Ebert of the Fort Atkinson Police Department.
I'm going to read a couple of things here and for Sue, and then President Scheer will present you with your plaque. So the city would like to recognize Sue Ebert for her 35 years of service to the city as a dispatcher. Sue was responsible for training news dispatchers and worked all 3 shifts over her career. Sue, I don't know how you handled the stress of your job for 35 years, but we all commend you and your commitment to the department, the city, and the community. You continually stayed calm and cool and helpful during 35 years worth of worst moments in other people's lives. So I'm sure they appreciated your steady voice during their unsteady times. So on behalf of the city, I want to thank you for your service to our community, and President Scheer will be presenting you with your plaque. Thank you very much.
We all have to do real smiles now.
Right.
Do you want one of you look smart, Chris? Are you good?
Thank you very much. It's been an honor and a privilege to work for the city of Fort Atkinson. I enjoyed it very much. I'm looking forward to a little less stress in my city.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That takes us to agenda item 6B, which is the recognition of the retirement of Captain Jeff Davis of the Fort Atkinson Police Department.
Okay. The city would like to recognize Captain Jeff Davis, who served the Fort Atkinson Police Department for 25 years and served in the field for 26 years total. He served as a patrol officer, school resource officer, lieutenant, and captain. He supervised the Detective Bureau and later the Patrol Division. Captain Davis led efforts to modernize the department's technology, including the RMS CAD system, mobile computers in squads, squad cameras, and body cameras. Thank you, Captain Davis, for your service to our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gorgeous.
My wife got my speech down. It was to be about 45 minutes. Decided to cut it down a little bit. So
Thank you,
30
Kelly.
seconds. So, thank you guys for the recognition and thank you to the public for all your support, my family for always behind me. See, anytime you're in a career for that long, you need people behind you to keep you going today and people to talk to and solve your problems and all that. So I'm just happy I had all those people always supporting me.
Thank you again to both of you. Next on our agenda will be the presentation of the Green Recognition Award to Heart of the City.
Thank you. In July of 2007, the city's Climate Protection Ad Hoc Committee recommended the city adopt a green recognition program to showcase the environmental efforts of area businesses, community organizations, and individual citizens. The award recognizes that a healthy economy and a healthy environment are mutually supportive, and it is presented annually by the City Council. So this year, we have a nomination submitted by Frankie Fuller for Heart of the City to receive the 2021 award for the Community Organization category. And the award panel, consisting of the representatives from the City Council, the business community, and city staff, voted unanimously to reward Heart of the City with this award. Staff, the Council President Scheer will present the award, and then if you have any comments or anything, sir, if you would go to the podium too.
Chris, are you new with this?
Okay, smile, smile. We'll just check that, tell them why. I got a lot of film to waste. Okay.
All right. Got my steps in there. All right, next agenda item is the review and possible action relating to a proclamation recognizing World Migratory Bird Day on Saturday, May 14th, 2022.
Annually, since 2016, the city of Fort Atkinson has recognized the second Saturday in May as World Migratory Bird Day as part of the city's Bird City designation. The 2022 World Migratory Bird Day will be held on Saturday, May 14th, and incorporates the theme Dim the Lights for Birds at Night. The organization encourages citizens to celebrate the beauty of migratory birds and to support the efforts to protect and conserve them and their habitats in our community. Staff recommends that the City Council take action to proclaim Saturday, May 14th as World Migratory Bird Day, encouraging all citizens to support efforts to protect and conserve migratory birds and their habitats.
I move to approve the proclamation recognizing World Migratory Bird Day on Saturday, May 14th, 2022.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? That carries. And if anyone is interested in seeing the actual proclamation, that will be available on the city's website. Agenda item 7, resolutions and ordinances. 7A is the review and possible action relating to a resolution authorizing the issuance of $2,275,000 general obligation promissory notes and the issuance and sale of a $2,275,000 note anticipation note in anticipation thereof.
Okay, so through the city's 2022 budget process, staff identified the need to borrow funds in 2022 for certain capital improvements, projects, and equipment in 2022 and 2023. And on February 1st, Justin Fisher of Baird, who serves as the city's financial advisor, presented a summary of the city's debt and borrowing capacity. He also presented information relating to the proposed note anticipation note to borrow for the city's 2022 and 2023 projects and purchases. So the city council did approve that resolution authorizing the sale at that meeting. Kevin Mullen with Baird is with us tonight to present the final terms. And I will pull up his presentation here.
And I will hold back on any anticipation jokes, given that there were lots of anticipations in the presentation. But so I wanted to turn your attention to the report that I put on the counter in front of you. And it just summarizes the results of the placement of this anticipatory note. And just to give you a little bit of background, because it is referenced again in the next resolution. So what you're doing tonight is you're approving this short-term note. The note gives you flexibility to borrow the money right now and gives you the flexibility to move funds between projects identified in the capital project plan. And that's the reason that you're doing this anticipatory note first. And then subsequent to this, you would be refinancing it with a bond. That's what we're anticipating. And that bond will be the long-term takeout of this borrowing. So the summary that we're talking about right now and the resolution that you have in front of you is the first step in that process. So what it is basically referring to is $2,275,000 that would be approved today at a rate of 0.97%. And I think that when Justin was here previously, he was talking about a rate in the neighborhood of 1.25%. So we were very happy about that. Farmers State Bank is the provider of those funds. And then the funds would be available on March 22nd to you. So they would actually be in the bank to you at that point in time. Two additional pieces of information that are important. The maturity on this is a 1-year note anticipation note, meaning that the full principal amount comes due next year in March, but it's callable beginning June 1st, so in 3 months. So ideally, you'll have the long-term borrowing put in place and it'll refinance this note at the call date. But it does give you a little bit of flexibility if you don't like the timing of interest rates at this point, at that point in time. But I do feel confident, that you're going to be moving forward with that. So in a nutshell, that's what it is. Turning the page, I guess I just wanted to refresh your memory in terms of the overall plan of finance. So ultimately, these projects that you're going to be funding are primarily street work vehicles and equipment. Some of those have a useful life of 10 years. Some of those have a useful life of 20. Ultimately, it's going to be one loan with some of the payments pushed forward into 1 through 10 and some of the payments in 1 through 20, depending on ultimately the project that's financed. And then if you read left to right, you'll see annual payments, levy year, the year in which you put the payment in your budget, the payment year, the year in which the payment on the bonds are due, your existing debt for levy supported purposes. So those debt service payments annually that will be supported by tax dollars. This anticipatory note is in the next column, and you'll notice that that dollar amount does not carry through because ultimately we'll refinance the small amount of interest plus principal and take that out with the box in the middle, which is the long-term takeout of this $2,275,000 and the estimate of principal and interest at roughly 3%, which is a conservative estimate of what a long-term tax exempt rate for your credit would be presently. Then next to that, it shows you the estimated projects that are financed over 10 years, roughly $1.5 million, and over 20 years, roughly $1 million. And that's the total debt service. Principal is a little bit less than that. You also have some water needs that are being financed, and that's separate. The reason that that is separate is because you are going to be using user fees from the water utility to come to the general fund to offset these payments. So they're not levy supported. So all the way on the far right-hand side is the debt service that will be levy supported after you take in to account the water receipts. And you'll notice that your debt service goes from roughly $1.1 million to $1.4 million in 2024, and then begins to drop off again. And I'm sure that's intentional because you've borrowed for projects that are funding 2022, 2023, and 2024 needs. So you're anticipating borrowing potentially again and leaving some room and flexibility to do that. So, and then on the right-hand side is an estimate of the assessed tax rate using your current value and growth at 1.5%. So I think Justin had gone through most of that with you before, but I think it's always good to review it. So any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Otherwise, you're free to consider the resolution, obviously.
Not a question, but I will say I don't think I've ever seen an interest rate below 1%. So that is impressive.
Yes.
Rebecca, maybe more of a question for you, but I just for my reference, coming up on a year here and not really having done this yet, it's noted in there that this would take us, it'd be an increase of about 200,000 over the previous year's debt service payment. Is there a range that there's a goal to try to stay within? Is there ever a concern about how much that increases from one year to the next?
We have just traditionally been pretty conservative, trying to keep it consistent. And as Kevin mentioned, we want to make sure we have a level that's sustainable into the future, especially when looking at potentially additional borrowing in 2024 or 2025 relating to the public works facility, which would be a larger project. So we are looking to kind of recalibrate a little bit to have the debt service payment a little bit higher in the coming years. But I would note that we are still, Justin presented at the last meeting, I think we're at about between 17 and 19% of our general fund borrowing capacity. So that is a very, very good place for the city to be in as far as borrowing.
Great, thank you.
All right, I would move to adopt the resolution authoring the issuance of 2,275,000 general obligation promissory notes and the issuance of sale of a $2,275,000 note, anticipation note in anticipation thereof.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. It's always a fun one to read.
Yeah.
This will be a roll call vote.
Councilman Becker,
Aye.
Councilman Hartwick,
Aye.
Councilman Housley,
Aye.
Councilman Johnson,
Aye.
President Shear.
Aye, that motion carries. Takes us to 7B, which is the review and possible action relating to a resolution providing for the sale of approximately $2,275,000 of general obligation refunding bonds.
I move to adopt the resolution providing for the sale of approximately 2,275,000 general obligation refunding bonds.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This will be another roll call vote.
Councilman Becker,
Aye.
Councilman Hartwick,
Aye.
Councilman Housley,
Aye.
Councilman Johnson,
Aye.
President Shear.
Aye, that motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You too. Agenda item 7C is the review and possible action on No Mow May, a temporary exception to section 102B1, City of Fort Atkinson Municipal Code.
The Heart of the City has expressed interest in introducing a temporary exception to section 102-121B1 of the City of Fort Atkinson Municipal Code, which would allow for grass to exceed the stated 8-inch maximum to facilitate promotion and education of habitat necessary for successful emergence and survival of pollinators in the month of May. This effort is known as No Mow May and was successfully implemented in 2021. This proposed exception would allow rear yards of residential properties and designated city-owned properties to be exempt from enforcement of this section of code throughout the month of May 2022. And the city has designated a few properties to be included in this exception, including Berry Park near the playground on the corner, North Main Street and North 4th Street by the train tracks, a swatch of land near the electronic sign at Jones Park and Wilcox Park. The staff does recommend that the city council adopt a resolution allowing for the temporary exception to section 102-121 sub B sub 1 from May 1st, 2022 to May 31st, and declare the month no mo May in the city of Fort Atkinson.
I move to adopt the resolution allowing for a temporary exception to section 102B 1, City of Fort Atkinson Municipal Code in support of no mo May.
Second.
I saw that too.
Brandon, if you can just amend that to be section 102-121B1.
Oh, okay. So what is it? 102-B? or
102-121B1.
Okay, I would amend the motion. I move to adopt the resolution allowing for a temporary exception to section 102-121 B1. City of Fort Atkinson Municipal Code in support of no mo May.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
No, I think just to clarify, no residents are being asked or required to not mow sections of their lawn. This is fully voluntary for anyone who chooses to participate in it. It's a nice thing for the city to choose to participate in, but it is no means being asked or required for anyone by the city or the city council. I think it's important to remind people of that.
Yes. And I think it was well received last year.
Very
and
much. Yep,
Looking
I
forward to doing our part again this year.
My son neighbors, yeah.
By most. So we do have a motion and a second.
President Chair, if I could just say really quick, I last year I thought everything went fine. I don't recall receiving or reading any complaints about it from any city residents. So I fully support this again.
Thank you. So we do have a motion and a second. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carries. That takes us to agenda item 8, which is reports of officers, boards, and committees. 8A is the city manager's report.
Thank you. As everybody may have noticed, the mask requirement in city's facilities has shifted due to the additional metrics for determining community transmission level announced by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on Friday. By these metrics, Jefferson County is now considered a low community transmission county. I want to congratulate Police Officer Ben Lindsay on his promotion to lieutenant by the Police and Fire Commission on February 14th. He'll begin his new duties later in March. Also, staff released a request for interest yesterday for developers to develop the city's Banker Road parcels. We've already received interest and very positive feedback from the development community, and interest submittals are due to staff by April 1st. So we hope to get several of those to review. Also, just today, the Parks and Recreation Department released a request for proposals for the Comprehensive Outdoor Recreation Plan, or CORP. We look forward to reviewing those proposals that will be due back on March 24th and beginning that process. The city council and city staff has had and continues to have informational meetings with the public relating to the public safety referendum on the April 5th ballot. We have a public information session on March 9th in person and via Zoom. We have an informal question and answer session at the library on March 14th. We are going to the Lions Club on March 14th as well, and there will be some videos released over the coming weeks. And there's a second mailer that will be distributed likely next week to the public. Recall that those mailers were paid for using Community Foundation grant funds and ARPA funds, so no local tax dollars were used to produce them. So just a reminder to visit the city's website and click on referendum for more information. Please take advantage of these opportunities to educate yourself and make an informed decision on April 5th. Finally, I ask the city council and candidates for city council to save the date on April 22nd, 2022. As part of the new council orientation process, we'll be conducting tours of city facilities. And that is all I have.
Thank you. Agenda item 9 this evening is unfinished business. We have none. Agenda item 10, new business. 10A is the review and possible action relating to a skid loader purchase for the Department of Public Works at a cost of $34,573 from Miller, Bradford, and Riceburg.
Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so you have before you, council, it's a recommendation here from my office for the purchase of a skid steer. Some background on it, excuse me, is we do have an existing skid steer that we operate nearly daily. It's a packet from 2012. And because we use them pretty heavily every day, I'd like to get this one replaced so that we don't have any interruption in service. We do operate two skid steers out of this department, and again, they're both used daily. So because the Public Works relies so heavily on our skid loaders, this unit is estimated viable life of about 10 years, and its replacement was included in your 2022 approved capital improvements budget. So I guess right now the staff took a look at this and put it out for bid to see what we had available to us. We got very favorable trade-in value on the 2012, actually much higher than I thought was going to come back to us. So the 2022 CIP budget approved this item at $40,000. So we received two bids, one from Miller Bradford and the second one from Brooks Tractor, both of which we've done business with in the past. The bid totals were included in your packet. Miller Bradford was very competitive. They gave us a great trade-in value for the case. They are a case dealer, so they were able to get us more money on the case, and in fact save us quite a bit on the new skid loader and a broom attachment with that. So excuse me, I'm recommending that council approve the purchase of this skid steer along with trading in the 2012, and the total amount to the city would be $34,573.
Always nice to see something come in below what was already approved in the CIP. So I would move to approve the skid loader purchase for the Department of Public Works at a cost of $34,573 from Miller, Bradford, and Riceburg.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. 10B is the review and possible action relating to the purchase of two single axle plow trucks for the Department of Public Works at a total cost of $384,246 from Kaiser Commercial Sales.
Okay, so this is a similar item to the skid steer, only slightly more expensive. I apologize for that. But this is something that came up in our budgeting process for the CIP. We employ several of these units for our snow operations and for construction season. The two existing units that I would like to replace are from 1999. And they've done a great job for us. They've served us very well, but they have definitely long exceeded their viable service life to us. These pieces of equipment generally have a viable service life of roughly about 15 years. And we've done very well with them again. However, they are in desperate need of replacement. The cost of maintaining these things has gone up immensely. So for the 2022 CIP budget, I put forth a budget of $350,000 to replace both of them. Unfortunately, with the rising costs of manufacturing and getting the parts to build these units, the price has gone up slightly over what I originally anticipated. You will see the two bid tabs before you, one from Kaiser Ford Commercial Sales and the other from Lakeside International. I will say that we are asking to go with the Ford F-750 units. This will be something new for the city. However, it did offer us an opportunity to save a pretty significant amount of money for the units themselves. So I would be recommending the purchase of the two Ford F-750 single axle trucks from including the Monroe upfit, which gives us the dump box, the snow plow, and the salter, in the amount of $384,246 from Kaiser Commercial Sales out of Madison to replace the existing 23-year-old trucks.
Should ask Bruce about this.
Pardon?
Good trucks.
Yeah, Kaiser's a great place.
Yeah.
Kaiser does a real good job of backing up what they sell.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and we did, just for the council's awareness, we did reach out to Griffin. However, they do not sell commercial sized vehicles. And so we went to Kaiser for those bids.
Tom, I just want to make a note too, just for the record. I certainly appreciate you including in the memo that there was a decision made then to push back another purchase for 25,000 to help offset some of that cost difference. So thank you for reviewing that and finding an option to help make up some of that difference, since these quotes did come in above what the initial thought was of pricing in the CIP.
Yeah, you bet. I apologize for not bringing that up, but that was one thing that I think we can certainly forego the van for now. We can get that other van and use that. We only use that very limited amount of time in the summertime, so we'll be okay.
I find myself always impressed with the city staff being very cost conscious of the city itself and its taxpayers. Well done, Tom.
Thank you.
I move to approve purchase of 2 single axle plow trucks for the Department of Public Works at a total cost of $384,246 from Kaiser Commercial Sales.
Second.
We have a motion and a couple of seconds. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. Agenda item 10C is the review and possible action relating to a proposed submission to the Fort Atkinson School District from the city relating to the installation of fiber along Park Street.
Okay, so excuse me, I'm up again. Andy Selly is out still dealing with some sanitary sewer issues that we've been battling all afternoon with, which is why I'm not in person. I figured the council and anyone sitting in the chambers would probably appreciate not having to deal with my current scent. So the city currently holds an annual contract to provide locating services for the school district. This was part of our expansion of fiber optic installation over the last year. And we deal with these lines. We've been locating them. It's jointly held between the city and the school district. We review probably about 1,500 locates annually and get those marked out for city-owned infrastructure such as water, sewer, and storm sewer, fiber optic lines and such. The staff here at the city have an excellent understanding what this project is and what might affect the infrastructure of the district property. So for this reason, we've provided locating services under a 3-year contract signed in 2020. This contract is housed under a federal procurement program and is reimbursed, excuse me, and that reimburses the district 70% for qualified expenses. The city has invoiced and been paid over the last 2 years under this contract for the locating services, $12,500 in 2020 and $8,500 in 2021. The city managed installation of all the additional fiber optic lines over this 2-year period with the district as our partner using CARES Act funds in 2021. This was a second fiber build that we did and added on to the initial first build following the district lead on installation in 2019. The district would like to install a section of additional fiber from the main line located on the bike path or along the bike path on Janesville Avenue and running east along Park Street to include service to Purdy and Luther Elementary Schools. And part of this, the city reached out to our previous subcontractors who were very good to work with and very prompt in service, and solicited a proposal for the Park Street fiber installation. This proposal came back from the subcontractor just under $36,000. So the city is proposing to leverage its current federal contractor status under this locate contract mentioned above to offer the school district a proposal for this project. Subcontractors involved would, excuse me, not bid the work directly due to the requirements for the qualifications under the federal program. We have reached out to the federal administrators and they've expressed absolutely no concern with the city acting in this role under this program. So the financial analysis here, the city's proposal is accepted by the school district. The city would then be responsible for paying the subcontractor for the work and materials associated with the fiber project. The school district would then reimburse the city at full cost. Staff proposes to expend up to $36,000 from the new general fund contracted services account. No funds were budgeted in this account, but the expenditure will be offset by reimbursement revenue from the school district and our locating services account. So staff is recommending that the city council approve the submittal of the attached proposal to the school district for the Port Atkinson expansion, the fiber along Park Street to be installed. If approved, the proposal will be submitted on March 2nd. If awarded, the work would occur in the summer of this year. Do you have any, if there's any questions, I can do the best I can to help you out.
Tom, I'm just curious, would the city then have a contract with the school district outlining those terms? And then do you know what the payment terms would be for when the district would have to have that fully paid back?
Rebecca might know a little bit more about the terms. However, I think from what Andy and I discussed earlier, they would be, so we would be serving as their contractor. In essence, we would be the general contractor for the installation. So we would have hold an agreement with the city school district.
So we currently do have a contract with the school district as mentioned in the memo. And if the school district accepts our proposal, we would then get into an agreement with them outlining those terms specifically.
For budgetary purposes, is it safe to assume those funds would have to be paid back by year end? So there wouldn't be an unexpected expense carried over?
Yes, correct. The project is anticipated to be completed and reimbursed to the city in 2022.
I think this is a good way to continue to partner with our school district and to get more fiber out within the community. So I'm glad that we're able to assist in some manner. Would anyone care to make a motion?
I would, I move to authorize city staff to submit a proposal to the Fort Atkinson School District relating to the installation of fiber infrastructure along Park Street from Janesville Avenue to Purdy Elementary School.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion or questions? All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you.
Agenda item 10D is the review and possible action relating to 2021 year-end financial information.
Thank you. Okay. So the goals of this memo and presentation tonight are to go over the 2021 year-end financials, create efficiencies and avoid duplications in reporting. We've had a few different styles of this presentation or this memo in the past. So we'd like to create some efficiencies tonight. We also want to maintain transparency and accountability for public funds and tie the year-end report back to the adopted budget document, which we will surely have more success at in future years when the same people are doing all the same things. Let's see, so we have some accomplishments in this presentation. These are from the 2022 budget document. I won't go through them all, but 2021 was a good year for the city. We did get a lot accomplished and we were very happy with that. Let's see. The sections in this report are listed here on the presentation. We have some information about the 2021 taxes collected, and then we will look at general fund accounts 15% over or under budget with accounts over $5,000. We'll look at revenues and expenditures. And we'll also look at the estimated net increase to the general fund balance, estimated fund balances in all funds, and then carryover requests to 2022. Just a note that these are our estimates at this point because the city's books have not been audited yet. When they are audited, that audit will be presented to the city council. That's likely this summer. So this is a little bit of a preview, but those numbers will be finalized at that time. So taxes collected, we did, let's see here. The total property taxes levied in the city of Fort Atkinson in 2021 was $25,367,119. So I included a chart in the presentation that just shows the percentage that each taxing jurisdiction receives of that $25.3 million. So you can see the city is at 32%. The school district is at, I believe, 44. 48, thank you. It's a little small for my eyes here. And then 17% at Jefferson County and the remaining 3% for Madison College. So of that $25.3 million, the city has collected 73% of that, or $18.5 million as of January 31st. Let's see that the second installment of the real property taxes is due to the county by July 31st, 2022, with the final settlement happening in August. So it is not concerning that we are at 73% of the total. All personal property taxes are due by that January 31st deadline, but only the first half of real property taxes are due. So let's see. Oh, what am I doing here? Okay, so next is the general fund accounts 15% over or under budget with accounts over $5,000. In the past, there was a list of all the accounts, but what I did was put them into a couple different tables. So the tables are not on the presentation, but they are in the packet. Table 1 in the memo outlines the general fund revenues, accounts that were over or under budget. So we have under realized revenues. There are 4 accounts with under realized revenues that are more than 15% of the budgeted amount in accounts over $5,000. And there are, let's see, 5 accounts that are over realized revenues, which means that we created more revenue than we thought we would in those accounts. When you add the total amounts of all of the general fund revenues that were you netted out that over and under budget, our net revenues for the year was $210,000, $210,437. A couple of the accounts that were over realized revenue included our building permits, electrical permits, and court penalties and costs. So we are using the state debt collection service now, which has significantly increased our ability to collect some of our court costs. So the second table outlines general fund expenditures with accounts over and under budget by 15% or more. Again, in accounts with over $5,000. There's more of these. There's 19 accounts that were over budget, and there were 43 accounts that were under budget. Those are listed in the memo for everybody's information. The net expenditures under budget was $208,756. Okay, so the net revenues plus the net expenditures equaled $419,193. And that is added to our general fund balance as of 1/1/21 to come up with the general fund balance as of 12/31/21 of approximately $3.6 million. Okay, and again, that number is subject to change with the final 2021 audit. Back up a little bit there. I have just a couple comments on that I just want to make sure that for the council and the public to understand. The unassigned fund balance provides the city with working capital needed to meet cash flow needs throughout the year and affords a comfortable margin of safety to address unanticipated expenditures, emergencies, and other unexpected declines in revenue due to economic downturns, reductions in state aid, or others. It also allows the city to take advantage of opportunities as they are presented, such as land acquisition or other one-time purchases. Further, a healthy fund balance positively influences the city's bond rating, which allows for better interest rates and more competitive bond sales, which I think we've seen already tonight. Also, the city has a general fund unassigned fund balance policy included in our financial stability guidebook. And that indicates that the city will strive for an unassigned fund balance of between 15 and 30% of general fund expenditures. So the city, based on the general fund expenditure of $8.6 million included in the 2022 budget, that our fund balance equals 42% of the city's general fund expenditures. However, when you add in all of our expenditures that are supported by the levy, including debt service, transportation, the library, and the capital improvements projects budget, as well as the tax increment districts, that total expenditure budget is about $11.5 million, which puts the general fund balance at 32% of that. So it is a healthy fund balance, and there may certainly be unexpected funds needed in the future that may spend that account down a little bit in the future. So that is a very good place for the city to be in. The next table includes all of our estimated fund balances, as you can see from the table, which is included in the memo as well for additional, it might be a little clearer in the memo as versus on that PowerPoint. Find it in my memo. This is a listing of all of our separate funds. The clerk, treasurer, finance director, and I went through this year, and we actually changed a number of the more business-like funds into their own funds, which will allow the carryover of some of these funds from year to year, such as the library fund that was removed from, if you remember during the budget process, that was removed from the regular general fund budget in 2021. So you have the listing and an explanation of the change in position. And we do have some of our fund balances with positive balances and some with negative balances. The ones with negative fund balances all have substantial or acceptable explanations, and none of them are presenting a major concern for us at this time. That transportation fund, you could see that has a negative balance of almost $500,000, but that we still need to draw out our utility costs related to our road projects in 2021. Those will be moved to some of the utilities, some of our water and wastewater utilities. Those are very positive balances, but those do not currently include the capital assets nor the funds that will be moved to those accounts from the transportation fund. So those will change a little bit as we get as the audit comes into focus a little bit more. The other fund balances with negative fund balances at the end of the year, we have the TID number 6, which we all know that is, we are continuing to pay down the debt relating to the Clement Business Park year over year. And that negative fund balance is getting lower year over year. We have a slight negative fund balance in TID number 7, which is the downtown TID. That funding expenditure period ends in 2022, and that will balance out to 0 at the end of the year. The taxi fund has a negative fund balance, but that will also be balanced out at the end of the federal fiscal year, as the COVID funds from the federal government will be reimbursing those funds. Then we also have 2 CDBG projects that are currently negative balances, the Lorman project and the water main project. And those are funds that the city has expended up to this point, but will be reimbursed in 2022 from the federal grant funds. The airport has a slight deficit, but that will be repaid in 2022. And then Let's see, that is all the negative fund balances. Okay. Next up is the carryover requests. We have a list that totals about $305,000 for carryover requests. The table in the memo and on the presentation here includes notes for each of these accounts as to why we are requesting that the funds be carried over. Most of them include donations or designated projects or programming that carries over between, when one year ends and a new year begins. I think a good example of this is our dance program. We have a lot of program fees that are collected in 2021, payable in 2022. So there's 17 accounts in that category. And the total, as I mentioned, requested to be carried over is $305,834.35. And with that, I can tell you that the staff is recommending that the city council approve the 2021 funds requested to be carried over to 2022 as listed in table 5 for a total of $305,834.35. And I would be happy to answer any questions relating to the contents of the memo or the presentation.
Can you go back to, I believe it's like slide 2, which is the accomplishments for the year?
Well, I don't know if I can go back now. Hold on.
While she's doing that, are there any other questions, comments?
No questions from my end, but I think it's probably an appropriate time to comment. Just that I am extremely appreciative of the organization of our city leadership team and the amount of time and effort they put into not only putting the budget together and not only budgeting things down literally to the penny, but also giving pretty clear information about why something is increasing or why something is decreasing, or if something is being shifted or allocated to a different account. Obviously, with a public safety referendum pending, there is a lot of talk about transparency in how our city uses taxpayer dollars. And I just think it's really important for folks to remember that the information is there. The information is available for people to look at. Residents are always welcome to ask questions or give input or be a part of the annual budget process when that is happening. And I just think it's important to note and for people to understand that the transparency is there. If anyone ever has suggestions on how things can be changed or improved upon, I think anybody up here and anybody on our city staff is more than welcome to have those conversations. But I do encourage folks to take a look at the information available and really kind of help educate themselves and take in that knowledge of how extensive of a process this really is, and that this is not something that the staff does quickly and quietly and without a tremendous amount of thought involved.
I couldn't agree more. And one of the reasons that I wanted to bring up the 2021 accomplishments is to note how many of those accomplishments involve grants. So our city staff and leadership is working diligently to make sure that our impact within the community is felt and at the lowest amount of tax impact to our residents that we possibly can. So again, look at how many of those projects are going to make positive impact and are grant funded. One other thing that I would like to mention is that is 4.7 miles of road repair. So when we're reading Facebook comments, we can remind everybody that we tackled 7% of city roads this last year. It is a slow process. We thank everybody for bearing with us and know that $20 wheel fee that you pay every year truly does go only to roads. So.
Yeah, if I remember right, was that the levy increase at 18,000? And
Yes,
for the city of this size to function with an $18,000 margin and stay inside and stay on target is impressive.
Well, we would entertain a motion.
I move to accept the 2021 year-end financial report and approve the 2021 funds requested to be carried over to 2022 as listed in Table 5 in the city manager's memo totaling $305,834.35.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? That motion carries. That takes us to agenda item number 11, which is miscellaneous. This evening, we have none. Agenda item 12 is claims, appropriations, and contract payments. 12A is the review and possible action relating to the verified claims presented by the Director of Finance and authorization of payment.
I move to approve the verified claims presented by the Director of Finance and authorize payment.
Second.
A motion and a second. This will be a roll call vote.
Councilman Becker,
Aye.
Councilman Hartwick,
Aye.
Councilman Housley,
Aye.
Councilman Johnson,
Aye.
President Shear.
Aye. That motion carries. And finally, agenda item 13, adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? This meeting is adjourned.